Right now, there's one thing you need and want more than anything, and you would move heaven and earth to get it. A second chance with your wife. Whether that second chance is a third or a 100th chance, it doesn't matter. You are determined to make things different this time. And if she could only see and believe that, then your marriage would just simply turn around. Well, in the next few minutes, I'll show you 7 steps that will open your eyes to what's really going on inside of her. This will allow you to tap directly back into what she needs, and over time, make yourself irreplaceable to her. To shift your path from divorce to a new beginning you've been looking for. And here's a bonus. For the 4th step, we'll hear from a man who won his wife back after she was dead set on divorce.
She was like, you're just a totally different person now. She was like, you're kind, you're caring, you're patient, you're loving. And she was like, and I love the new you, you know?
So he can vouch that this step is a giant leap for husbands going through the same thing you are. So let's jump in. This video was inspired by a man in our program who shared some insights after months of navigating through rough waters with his wife. Now, right now, your wife doesn't think change is possible for you, but the steps in this video have the power to transform her doubt into hope, her coldness into curiosity, her irritation into intimacy and real connection. But why? Because your uncertainty will turn into confidence, your complacency into action, and your frustration will become understanding. The first step sets the stage for the healing that must happen in order to get that second chance with her. This will also foster humility and independence that you need right now. And it all comes down to 3 words you need to stop saying immediately. I love you. 3 words that you might be tempted to say more often now than ever. But this first point may come as a surprise. It might even burn your ego a little. But I don't care, because my goal is not to be nice to you, but rather help you grow. Your wife doesn't care right now that you love her. In fact, she doesn't give a damn about your feelings at the moment. Sorry, but saying I love you right now is like throwing a love note into a hurricane, right? It's pretty pointless. She doesn't want to hear it, and telling her will not help your case. Listen, man, she knows you love her. Even if there's been infidelity, she's smart enough to see the bigger picture here. Your emotions won't disappear overnight. I know from her side it seems like that, but trust me, they're still there. And she can likely tell that you're trying, but she doesn't care right now. So stop telling her all the time. And I hate to break it to you, but the reason you keep wanting to tell her how much you care is likely about your own ego and neediness. The lesson I'm conveying here is called ego displacement. You've got to set your ego aside. Conveying your love right now will not make a dent in the damage that's been done. There's a scene in the 1980s movie Turner and Hooch. Detective Turner comes home to find his house completely wrecked. And the culprit, of course, is his newfound adopted French Mastiff, Hooch. Now, everything is in chaos. Furniture overturned, things destroyed. And in the midst of his shock, he absentmindedly picks up a cleaning spray and sprays the counter as he walks by in disbelief. What's funny is it's a futile gesture that does nothing to address the real mess around him. When you keep telling your wife you love her right now, it's like that. Your wife sees the mess and chaos in your relationship, and your constant declarations of love you do nothing to clean that up. They're more about making you feel better, not addressing the real problems. So displace your ego and tackle the real issues head on, which we'll talk more about later in this video. This will set you up to take the second step with more ease because you won't be getting in the way of yourself. But what you will get is enhanced communication, really knowing her and knowing her language of emotional triggers. You'll be able to adapt quickly to the changes in dynamics and speed up your progress. And you'll be able to make informed decisions and be 1 step ahead instead of 2 steps behind. Now, the mention of divorce came out of nowhere most likely and threw you for a loop. Even if it didn't, now you're here playing catch up. All right, let's go over a scenario. Let's say your wife brings up a past mistake that you've made, one that usually triggers you to get defensive or try to justify your actions. Now, playing not to lose, you feel a familiar surge of defensive,ness, but you try to suppress it by changing the subject or giving a half-hearted apology just to avoid the conflict. This reaction is typical of how you've responded in the past, reinforcing her belief that you're unwilling or unable to change. Now, playing to win, instead of reacting impulsively, you take a deep breath and remind yourself of all the new things that you can do, all the ways to commit to her. You recognize this as a test and the opportunity to demonstrate your growth. You calmly acknowledge her feelings, validating the pain without making excuses. You then express a silent commitment to being more mindful of your actions in the future. This response in itself shows her a different side of you, one that is more self-aware, controlled, and genuinely invested in the healing of the relationship. Now, we will explore this further in this video, so you'll want to keep watching. So, all right, let's look at another scenario. Let's say your wife decides to go out with your friends. Something that in the past has made you feel maybe insecure or neglected or distrustful, leading to arguments about how she spends her time. Now, playing not to lose, you might have previously responded with, subtle guilt trips or passive aggression or questions about why she's doing it and really making her feel just stupid, okay? Now, you're trying to hold on to the relationship by really controlling her actions. And this is a form of control. She sees it this way, but it only pushes her further away. Now, playing to win, before she leaves, you take time to reflect on your feelings and remind yourself that your relationship needs trust and independence to thrive. When she tells you about her plans, you generally encourage her to have a great time and you let her know that you're happy and she can take all the time she wants to do with what she wants herself. You then focus on something positive for yourself while she's out, like pursuing a hobby or spending time with your friends or family. This new approach shows her that you are confident and secure and supportive of the qualities that will likely draw her closer to you again instead of driving her further away. Now, most importantly, don't try to rush this process and skip doing all the real work on yourself. And again, I say you must gain complete control over your actions. This means consciously choosing what you want instead of focusing on what you don't want through reactivity. And if you underestimate your wife, you risk losing the chance of rebuilding your relationship. Because right now, she's not seeing you as her teammate. And that's the reality that you need to address. Think of it like trying out for her really team again, where she's the coach evaluating whether you made the necessary changes. It's not about competing against her. It's about proving through your actions that you've grown and learned from past mistakes. To earn your place back on the team as her star player, you need to show her that you understand what went wrong and that you're committed to being the partner that she deserves. Now, her need for separation didn't really appear overnight, right? It's been building for a long time, whether it was aware to you or not, but it has been. Now, imagine you're looking up at the stars. Now, some of the light you're seeing dates back to millions of years before it reaches you. And in some cases, the stars actually sent light. Those stars are already gone, right? You've known this. We've learned this back in elementary school. Now, you're only seeing their light now because it took so long to travel. Well, your wife's emotions are a bit like that starlight. The feeling she's showing you now has been building up over time, even though you're just now noticing them. These feelings come from things that have happened in the past, your actions and your behaviors. Your wife doesn't control how she feels. She can only control how she reacts to those feelings. When she decided on separation, it was because she couldn't hold in those reactions anymore, right? What you're seeing now is like the light from those distant stars, is the result of what's been building for a while. It's not just about the small things like her heated reaction to you and dismissing her or not validating the drama in her life. It's about addressing the deeper issues that have been going on over time. The major key to understanding that if you can change how she feels, you can change how she thinks. Change her mood, you change her mind. And like I said in many times before, if you change her mood, you change her mind. This is precisely what we help you with. We lay out what specific changes in your behavior that need to take place in order for you to win her back. And by the way, I want to add an additional point here for you to think about. Even though you got cut from the team, so to speak, and right now you're getting really to know your wife as if she's just an opponent to beat, you have to fight for your wife, not against her. This might seem at odds with what I just said, but it's crucial to distinguish between family and spouse. Even in the midst of a divorce, you are still a family, right? And the best way to work towards reconciliation is by being her friend first. And now that you understand your wife better, the bigger change will be understanding the other half of the equation, the half that you have full control over, you. The next step will create curiosity in her, and she will see you in a different light, opening up that door to alliance building. Right now, I want you to just stop what you're doing. You ended up here for a reason, and doing the same things won't change that, will it? Your wife is smart. You might say you're changing, and even explain how you'll show her. But just saying you're changing is the same kind of talk that really got you in trouble in the first place. What needs to change is the patterns of your behavior. You see, your nervous system, brain chemistry, and muscle memory are all working against you. Those voices in your head telling you what to do, they're not always truthful or what's best for reconciliation and love. You have to be able to distinguish between your higher self emotions and intention and the parts of you that get rejected by her that are trying to protect yourself and self-sabotage and push her away subtly. And we do this through something called logical paradox. It's also known as the reverse talking strategy. Try getting out of your comfort zone. Take a step back and observe those thoughts and feelings without acting on them. Write them out on paper and see what they are, and then choose which ones you want to act on. Don't react to your emotions, okay? Just watch them. You can process them later. Remember that Seinfeld episode? It's called I think it was The Opposite. The moment there was George Costanza in that classic episode. He realizes that every decision he's made in his life has been wrong, leading to constant misfortune. He decides to do the opposite of what his instincts tell him. Instead of following his usual patterns, he takes a different approach in every situation. Now, remarkably, this strategy brings him unexpected success. He lands a great job, impresses women, and even gains newfound confidence. Now, this comedic yet insightful episode illustrates the power of reverse strategy. It's obviously blown out of proportion here, but it proves the point. By stepping back and observing your thoughts and actions without immediately acting on them, you can break free from destructive patterns and achieve better outcomes. You want to be unpredictable and spark curiosity inside of her, right? At least you should. Stop posting on social media. And most of all, give her space. Push past the fear that's preventing you from doing so. This understanding is the key to finding the answers and making real lasting changes. Now, the next step is a great example of reverse strategy. And it's likely an area, well, you've really struggled with. And I say that because most men struggle with this. I've struggled with this. I still do. And therefore, when you master it, it is a game changer for communication. Not only will you earn her respect, but she will feel more feminine, which increases her attraction for you tenfold. One of my clients, Jacob, achieved a radical transformation in his marriage. His wife went from miles of separation and divorce, dead set on divorce, mind you, even seeing another man, to pleading for her husband's return. We talk about a massive turnaround. She wanted him to be closer than ever. Now, I shared Jacob's full story in another video that you can check it out, which I'll point to you at the end of this one. One of the steps Jacob took in transforming his marriage is the step we're going to look at right now. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't challenging to master.
I really think the biggest thing was learning to handle my emotions. Growing up in my family as a kid, emotions didn't really have a place, they were just kind of a nuisance. And so it was either shove it down or wait until it just built up until you couldn't handle it anymore. And you just kind of like, have a fit kind of thing. And for me, the most important thing was learning to, when I was starting to get emotional about something, whether it be anger or sadness, whatever, to recognize what I was feeling, to be able to kind of name that emotion, and then go ahead and just experience it in the moment, but then also learn to communicate that, in a healthy way with my wife, tell her, like.
Learning to step outside of himself and recognize how he was feeling taught Jacob emotional equilibrium. You must be unreactive to her emotions. Be the shore, be that solid, stable base that protects her. I don't mean robotic or uncaring, but calm and understanding, holding her frame and validating her feelings. Possessing that ability is the next level of emotional intelligence. And instead of merely reacting and becoming a prisoner to your emotions, you're able to control them, transforming your feelings into a meaningful connection opportunity with your partner. And you can accomplish this by regularly checking in with yourself and acknowledging your emotions. Learn to validate what you're feeling and practice observing your emotions from an objective third-person perspective. Just simply tell yourself, I'm feeling angry because of the way she's talking to me. She's talking to me this way because she feels this or that, and this requires practice. But like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. It becomes automatic, right? That emotional intelligence just happens. And the best part about all this is as you start to hone your emotional mastery, she'll naturally follow your lead towards a place of peace and openness and connection.
So by you leading of expressing your emotions, being honest with your emotions, that kind of served as a model for her to allow her to do the same.
Yes, definitely. In the past, she might get frustrated with me about something, but she would never say anything. She would just go lay down or, go leave to go out with friends for the night or something. And now she'll just come right up to me and say, like, hey, I think you've spent too much time on your game today or something. Or
not only did she follow Jacob's lead and they learned to trust each other again, but they've learned to avoid the negative emotions more often. And she noticed his changes, and she wasn't the only one.
We went over to her parents' house to visit, and her dad actually came up to me and told me, he's like, he said, I've seen a lot of changes in you. He's like, you seem a lot happier. He's like, I think you're taking a lot better care of my daughter. And he was like, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for that.
While we're on the subject of her feelings, the fifth step will reduce her anxiety by creating a safe environment for her emotions, even when you're not actively displaying your emotional equilibrium. This in turn will make it easier for your wife to open up and become vulnerable, helping her to trust you even more. This may seem obvious, but I'm going to have to say it anyways. You don't control her. Thanks, Captain Obvious, I knew that. No, but seriously, if you start acting like a secret agent trying to manipulate every situation, she will see right through it. And trust me, She's got night vision goggles for this stuff. The more aware you become of your position, and when you start taking the right actions to change the dynamic of your marriage, control becomes less obvious to you, but it continues to be very obvious to her. You see, she's still very weary of you, right? So she's looking at you through the lens of control. She's hypersensitive to anything that may seem that way. And with every action you take, she's asking herself, is he being honest? Is he being authentic, genuine, confident, real? So this step is to maintain a control-free zone. Even if you're doing your best to be natural and non-controlling, she's probably interpreting your actions in attempts to exert control over her. Especially if that's been a pattern, right? She only sees you through that lens at first. So if you start from this perspective, you'll likely rethink your actions and avoid tricking your wife, surprising her, or acting cryptically. Now, I want to share a story that really adds to clarity on this. Now, Chris worked as a project manager at a building marketing firm. He was diligent, dedicated, and always eager to do his best. However, his boss, let's say Mr. Thompson, fake name, but let's say that's his boss, had a reputation for being unpredictable, which made Chris's work environment highly stressful. And one Monday morning, Chris walked into the office with a fresh cup of coffee in his hand, ready to tackle the day. And he settled at his desk. Now, Mr. Thompson approached him with a serious expression. He said, "Chris, you need to stay late tonight to finish the campaign for the Johnson account, okay?" Now, Chris nodded, albeit reluctantly, and prepared himself for a long night. Only a few days later, Thompson called Chris into his office. Chris's mind raced with possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Was there extra work to do? Instead, to Chris's surprise, Thompson handed him with an envelope and a raise. "You're doing great work, Chris. Keep it up," he said, with a rare smile. Feeling a mix of relief and confusion, Chris returned to his desk. The raise was a pleasant surprise, but the unpredictability of Thompson's actions kept him on edge constantly. You see this? The following week, as Chris was finalizing a report, Thompson walked by and casually mentioned, "Oh, and you messed up the numbers on the Taylor project, by the way. We need to fix them immediately." Chris felt his stomach drop. He had put so much effort into that project, and now he was being reprimanded for it. This back and forth, chaotic, unpredictable pattern continued for weeks. And one day Chris was praised and rewarded, and the next he was criticized and given extra tasks. The inconsistency was overwhelming for him. Every time Thompson approached him, whether it was in his office or break room, Chris had anxiety spike. He never knew if it would be another compliment, right, more praise, or if it was more scolding and saying that you're doing a horrible job, right? And the increase and the decrease got bigger and bigger, that gap, and created more chaos in his mind. Chris dreaded each interaction with his boss. The inconsistency created a perpetual state of anxiety, making it hard for Chris to feel secure and confident in his role. Now, this is what happens to our wives when we surprise them, trick them, or bring up difficult topics or complaints at random times. This behavior is a form of control manipulation, and they can see right through it. Now, another great way to foster a control-free zone is with this next step. Not only will it build your emotional intelligence, helping you stay strong and composed in the face of any challenge, but it will shift the power dynamics in your favor, reducing any perception of your neediness and desperation. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a divorce court of law. Now, you're not under arrest, right? But that Miranda warning is very applicable here. Think of it as a game of strategic poker. Sometimes it's best to hold your cards close up to your chest, right? And let her wonder what you're thinking. She hears every word that comes out of your mouth right now through a filter of manipulation and neediness, as we said before. So you have to learn to communicate by learning to not. This step is called strategic silence. This one is similar to the steadfast serenity, but it's so important here. It needs to be its own step. As a man who fell out of touch with the masculinity he first attracted her with and are faced with a wake-up call that seemed to come out of nowhere, it's probably apparent right now that the more you say, the less you learn. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I know you've heard it before. Strategic silence is not just silence. It's strategically choosing the right times to speak up and how to speak up. You see, stay quiet long enough to prompt her to speak more. This is another way to apply reverse strategy because we have so much we want to say, especially if she's saying something that is wrong, right? But by you speaking up and interrupting her, even if she interrupts you at times, you are choosing to lose your power because you're reacting. Here's a cold, harsh truth. You're not going to talk her to come back to you, right? Shift your mindset to that of curiosity. So you approach every conversation that way. Instead of needing to prove something to her, this reinforces your masculine friend by demonstrating that you don't need to fill every silence with words. Remember, you don't really know what your wife is experiencing or thinking. So approach her with that beginner's mindset, being curious, pretending to strip away all the labels and preconceptions that you have about why she did something, and truly learn. Look at her, see with curiosity, ask questions that you've never asked before. That will make her feel validated and understood more than anything else. And now for the final step, to get a second chance with your wife. Owning this one, it will not only enhance your appeal, drawing your wife closer to you naturally, but it will also promote better physical health, including lowering your blood pressure, increasing testosterone, and improving your immune function. Talk about a step in the right direction. I love this quote because it emphasizes the power of positive self-acceptance and authenticity in attracting others, which speaks to this last step perfectly through affirmative energy. Remaining positive isn't just about having a good attitude towards yourself. While it is essential to start there, true positivity shines through when you maintain it in every situation, even when facing something as challenging as a divorce. Women are naturally drawn to positivity and happiness and excitement and love. Even if they're in a negative state, they want to be in a positive subconsciously. As you cultivate a positive outlook, your wife will likely enjoy being around you more often. However, she may still bring up divorce frequently. It's crucial to understand that this isn't necessarily a conscious test, though it can't feel like one, but it's still a test regardless. She might be torn between her desire to be near your positive energy and the inclination toward divorce. Take her at her word when she says she wants a divorce. That's her truth, but that doesn't negate her desire to be around you, okay? And remember, her emotions will change over time, right? With the correct action. She is attracted to your positive energy in the moment. And if you can make every moment positive, she'll want to be around you more often. You see how this works? And it all starts with how you feel. Even if she talks about divorce, you'll realize that if she doesn't want to be with you, it won't matter in the long run. Achieving this mindset of really indifference, where you're not really overly affected by her statements, is incredibly attractive and brings you complete peace of mind. Maintaining a positive outlook not only improves your emotional and relational well-being, but also benefits your physical health. Now, the University of Queensland research shows that positivity can lower blood pressure, improve immune function, and so many other benefits. According to the studies of the university, individuals who maintain a positive attitude exhibit stronger immune responses and better overall health outcomes. In the previous video I talked about on this channel, other studies show that the lower your cortisol levels, the more attractive you are, right? So literally being positive makes you more attractive. I know this seems obvious, but how positive have you been around her lately, right? Despite how she feels, you are still being affected by her, okay? So you can check out Jacob's full video right here. And if you found this video helpful, please smash that like button, share it around to people who need it. And remember, you can set up a call with their team down below as well. Much love to you. Cheers.